In the NFL, I think there are a couple of places you want to be as a team. Some more ideally than others, obviously. The absolute worst place you could be is kind of one of those 6 to 9 or 10 win teams that isn't bad enough to be terrible, to kind of tank and then clean house and really build yourself back up, nor are they good enough to advance far enough in the playoffs to where they can really be taken seriously as a contender. That's a place you don't want to be, above all else. You can be really bad, and at least then you can say getting really bad gives you a chance to eventually get better. You could say you're heading down that path, then you want to continue down that path. Or you could say you're on your come up and you're building towards being a contending team. Maybe you have a young quarterback, maybe on a rookie deal, so you could invest in high priced talent in other places to fill some of your gaps via free agency and trades. Or you're truly a championship contending team. And at that point in time, you really truly want to be all in. And I will say, whether or not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a true championship contending team, you can certainly throw some doubts on that, but for the time being, they're in a position where they want to win now. You have a head coach of Bruce Arians that is kind of long in the tooth in terms of years, so he doesn't want to sit there and play around with a rebuilding type of team. He doesn't have time for that. He doesn't have patience for that, and I understand that. Right? Why wait till tomorrow if you could potentially do it now? And especially once you go out and sign Tom Brady, you're making a statement. You don't make that move to go 9-7 or 10-6 and make the wild card. You're doing that because you want to win a Super Bowl. You want to make a Super Bowl in that time frame that Tom Brady is there. Whether that's 1 season, 2 seasons, 3, doesn't matter. Like once you make the statement that you're going to move on from Jameis and you bring in Tom Brady, at that point in time, you are all in. That's why you bring in a Gronk. That's why you do those types of things. Because now you're making a statement that says, we're not thinking about the future, we're thinking about the here and now. And every move that you do has to be positioned towards the here and now. So I have to admit that I'm not surprised to find out that the Buccaneers were very heavy players in the Antonio Brown sweepstakes. And I'm also not really all that surprised, even though I thought Seattle certainly would be in the mix and have a very strong case to make, or maybe even the Ravens, although I doubt they want to deal with that foolishness. I'm not surprised to find out that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ultimately have signed Antonio Brown and brought him in on a 1-year deal. Even though he has the 8-game suspension for the multiple off-the-field incidents that he's still finishing up, this is a move designed with the second half of the season and the playoffs potentially in mind for this team. And you look at this and you say, okay, from one perspective, why would you want any part of Antonio Brown? 2019, he was a train wreck. On the field, off the field. In the locker room, you name it. He got himself into a bad spot in Oakland and cost himself a crap ton of guaranteed money. Like, just from that standpoint alone, it makes you question the judgment and maturity of said Antonio Brown. Certainly a valid concern. You have only but so many years, so many hits, so much drawing power in your repertoire. Why would you do anything to jeopardize any of that? Still unbelievably stupid to me what Antonio Brown did. And that's just dealing with the on-the-field kind of, Raiders organization type of stuff. Then he gets an opportunity. He gets to go play under Brady and Belichick in New England. And you're thinking, okay, now he'll at least behave here. But then you got all the off-the-field stuff is coming into play, and then he's still acting like an idiot while he's there in New England, and they say, nah, we can't do this. That's not the Patriot way. So he didn't have a job the rest of 2019, and then getting into more trouble and drama off the field, just being a complete and total idiot. There's no other way to say it. And now they've had all this bantering back and forth about he's kind of basically become the Ross Perot of the NFL. I quit. I'm back. I quit. I'm back. Quit. I'm back. Quit. I'm back. Like, make up your damn mind. So you got to sit there and wonder, why in the hell would Tampa want anything to do with this clown whatsoever? And the simple answer is they're all in. And you don't have to have a bunch of role models, a bunch of squeaky clean guys in order to win a championship. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some principles. Sometimes You've got to bring in different types of personalities. Sometimes you got to bring in pains in the ass to help achieve that ultimate goal. Might not be ideal, but that is the reality. And you might say to yourself, well, why would the Buccaneers bring him in when you've already got Evans and Godwin as it is? Is that really a need for this team? Maybe you can make that argument, but how many games have we gotten out of Godwin this year? Like, sure, when both Evans and Godwin are healthy, like, you got a dynamic, arguably best in the league, 1-2 receiver combination. But what's behind him? You can say, well, they got other guys, and I agree. Like, this was not exactly the move that I would think that the Buccaneers would make that they feel like could help get them over the hump. But you got to look at it this way. Like, this is still an Antonio Brown. He's only, I think, 32 years of age. You know, he was a monster in Pittsburgh. Even his last season in Pittsburgh, he had over 1,200 yards receiving, more than something like 15 touchdowns. So he's not that far removed from greatness in the league. You're talking about a guy that should be someday a Hall of Famer who you're bringing into a situation now where he doesn't have the pressure of being the absolute dude. He could be a guy, but he can also be in a situation where he knows that he has to respect Arians, period. He also knows that he has to respect Tom Brady, period. Because Brady's won 6 rings without Antonio Brown. They don't need him. They don't have to have him. This is truly, truly a luxury item. They view Antonio Brown as a luxury commodity. And maybe Bruce Arians is willing to plug his nose a little bit at the thought of bringing him in because this guy could be a game breaker for them. This guy could be a difference maker for them. This is a guy that could add yet another element into that Buccaneers passing game. And if it's got all of its weapons healthy, like, you're talking about, this is a team that can put up some points and put up some points in a hurry. And you're talking about a 1-year deal, low risk from a salary standpoint. You load some incentives in there. The first time that Antonio Brown acts off, jacks off, pisses off somebody, whatever the hell you want to call it, you can just cut them and you know worse for the wear. Like, this is absolutely, like, if you want to talk about, you know, like, some of the things he's accused of and some of the things he did off the field, is that a guy you really want to bring in the fold? Totally a valid conversation. But the NFL is not full of choir boys. It's like our politics is not full of choir boys and girls. Lots of corrupt people, lots of bad people get chances and opportunities, and that's just the way it is. So will this be a boom or bust move for the Bucs? Like, who knows? You could bring Antonio Brown in and he's so damn unstable that in 2 weeks he's talked himself out of town. That could certainly happen. Or he could look at it and say, you know what? This is a chance for me to get back in the game that I still want to play, no matter how much I've been capitulating and bitching about not wanting to do it anymore. I want to, because I've still got something to prove. Now he can go into a situation. He's in Tampa. He's playing with Brady. You know, not all the pressure is going to be on him. He could be a dude, but could certainly play a big role. You know, he's got a chance to maybe earn himself a future contract from the Bucs, or more likely somebody else. This is a situation he could come into that could potentially help his future Hall of Fame chances. Like, there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot on the table for Antonio Brown. Like, I actually think the biggest risk with bringing Antonio Brown in has absolutely nothing to do with the locker room stuff or his behavior in the team environment, because I actually believe for some unfounded reason that he'll be good. Like, he will actually behave in that sense. I'd be more concerned in a year like 2020 with some of the current challenges that everybody faces, and certainly in the NFL related to COVID. Like, that's where I worry about the lack of self-control and the lack of self-discipline coming into play and potentially a negative light. Like, would it surprise me at all that Antonio Brown tries to sneak out, violate COVID protocols, and potentially puts himself and other teammates, and potentially as a result the Buccaneers season at risk? No, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I could certainly see that happening. So if I'm thinking about the bust potential, you know, I can minimize and say, hey, it's 1 year, it's low money. If he acts up in 2 weeks, you can get rid of him. But in this year and in this time, bringing him in could create significant challenges and problems and really, really mess this season up for the Buccaneers. So it is not just as easy as, you know, like, you bring them in and you gamble. Like, you like to think that. And for a team like the Buccaneers, let's make no mistake about it, the way they are currently constructed, they are not going to win the Super Bowl. I don't even know bringing in Antonio Brown and having Antonio Brown of old makes them a Super Bowl team, but maybe it does. But at least I can agree with and understand the thought process, the approach, the philosophy here. Tom Brady is your starting quarterback. That means you are in win now mode. There is no future. The future is right now. And you must sell out everything you have to in order to try and win a championship right here, right now. And the fact that you could bring in a guy, an arguably Hall of Fame talent, that still could potentially have something big to contribute, bring him in on a short-term deal, low money invested, no draft picks given up, and potentially have him fresh for the second half of the season in the playoffs. Like, I'm sorry, even with the risks that are there, that are not as small as some might believe, they are actually quite sizable. Like, the Buccaneers had to make this move. It could boom for them big, and it could bust for them big. But they had to do something. And this was probably the biggest, arguably, something that they can do. I truly hope Antonio Brown understands that his ability to get another chance was bought in part because of his talent and apparently because of his relationship with Tom, respect for Tom Brady. Like, this is an opportunity to show what you could do, to show that you could behave, to show that you could be a good teammate, that you could be a leader, that you could be a big-time clutch player for this team. It's a chance for Antonio Brown to wipe a lot of bad taste out of a lot of people's mouth. This is still an immensely talented guy, a hard worker. Like, in so many ways, it's so frustrating because Antonio Brown is a good career story until he gets in his own damn way. So I truly hope he appreciates this potential last straw, last chance type of opportunity that he got and makes the most of it. Because the Buccaneers can certainly use him. And, if he blows this, then he's done. Period. You might have already thought he was done, but here and now, Brady ain't gonna play forever. He ain't gonna defend you forever. Like, this is your last chance. You need to show what you can do in a positive way. And hopefully the Bucs get it right, and hopefully he does. Because if not, they will have wasted all of this time and some money for nothing and could have potentially, because of the season that we're in, really screwed things up.